This is the mobility, stability, strength sequence for the transverse plane for core training. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with something I actually learned from my friends at Rad Roller, using a trigger point grid. So a longer grid here, so this is actually two grids that can come together or separate, so it's a great device by Trigger Point. What this allows me to do is get my elbows in a position to traction thoracic extension. So step one, just below my thorax or below my rib cage, and at the junction between my lumbar region and my thoracic region. Then what I do is open my legs, I hold my elbows into this position to trap my thorax into a strong spot. I get my head into a strong position, and I just drop my knees side to side. And that creates a rotational torque and starts to free up any adhesions that might exist on that border, which would stop thoracic rotation, which is important. I could do the exact same thing down in my lumbar, lying on my back, and just transferring my knees side to side. Again, just freeing up anything that would stop rotation in the lumbar spine and the thoracic spine. Now the next step is to take it up a little higher. So just below my scapula to the inside, set my shoulders, set my head, and then I'm going to do a series of ribs to pelvis, thoracic extension. Ribs to pelvis, thoracic extension. And I use my elbows to help open up my chest without just going into what's called Tada posture. So that's the mobilizing piece of the puzzle. For stability, what we do is we add in rotational control. So it's not about rotational strength per se, even though I'm going to use load. So I'm going to lie on my back, I'm going to trap the ball between my knees. I can either straighten my legs if I have the flexibility and the strength, or I can keep my knees bent, which is where I suggest. Tee your arms out to the side, knuckles down, which helps open up that thorax the same way we were just working. Bring your ribs towards your pelvis, drop your knees to the side, and pull down with the opposite arm. So keep pulling it into the floor, which is both a strengthening and stretching activation pattern. So we're strengthening eccentrically on the front and concentrically on the back in rotation. Side to side, chin tuck, ribs to pelvis, readjust as many times as you need to, get your scapula to lay flat, and move really slowly. So even though there's load, we're moving with control, and we're always readjusting back to neutral spine in the middle. Good. And then last but not least is called the pull-up press. Now, this could easily be a stability exercise as well. Either one of these can interchange. If I add more load to the knee drops, it becomes a strengthening exercise. If I add more load to this, it becomes more of a strengthening exercise, particularly if I do it two different variations. So my outside leg comes forward to the tube, which is off to the side. This could easily be a cable. I'm going to bring my ribs to my pelvis. I'm going to posterior pelvic tilt so I'm nice and long in the hip flexors. I'm going to press the tube, which is fairly easy with this level of tension. I'm going to hold my stability, and then I reach. And when I reach, it really forces me to use my frontal plane muscles and transverse plane muscles simultaneously. Bring it back down, bring it in. More of a strengthening version of this is when I rotate. It's a strength and rotation, and then press away, adding in stability. So again, two great exercises depending on how fast you move them. Either the pull-off press or the side-to-side knee drops could be stability or strength accordingly. Those are your transverse plane mobility, stability, strength exercises.